A lotus is a flower rooted in the mud that rises through and above to become a beautiful bloom. This is a podcast sharing mine and other stories of how we've done the same, choosing to rise above our circumstances to bloom. I'm your host, Amber. Let's get started. Okay, so this is my friend Michelle.
Hello.
We've known each other for 2 or 3 years now.
Yeah, I think so.
I met you when we did breathwork for Queen's Group.
Yes.
It was up in Smithfield.
Smithfield.
That's what it was.
That snowy day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was surprised anybody made it out.
Oh, I made my husband drive me up. So
I was so glad that you did.
Yeah.
It was so cool. And at that point, I mean, I'd done breathwork with a handful of different people. And I love how different each experience was, not just for me, but like the breath pattern, just the general vibes of the person who was there.
For sure.
But every person that I've done breathwork with always has such an amazing story of how they came to it, how it was like this big, almost saved them in some ways.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've ever done breathwork with somebody who, and to be fair, I mean, I think I've done breathwork with like 5 people. So it's not like I'm out there with a bunch of people doing breathwork. But I don't think I've met anybody who was like so passionate about it and it didn't have that story. Love.
I agree. Yeah. Breathwork, I don't think is something you just kind of stumble upon and go, yeah, especially if you become a facilitator, right? If you become intrigued enough by breathwork to go through an actual certification. Yeah. You've got a big why behind it. Yeah. A big why.
And your story I felt like was really cool. It was just interesting because it's not like we sat down and had a super deep conversation at any point during that whole setup, but I felt like we clicked from the very beginning. Yeah. Just the way just listening to you talk, I was like, I like her.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, it definitely, I feel like there's something that connects people within a space like that where you're willing to be vulnerable, right? There's just a vulnerability that comes with breath work. And I think it's why a lot of people actually shy away from it. Yeah. Because it's very vulnerable.
Oh, yeah. I've been in rooms where there are people where it's their first time and you can tell this is really pushing some mindsets and things for them, and then afterwards you can tell that it was effective and they're not sure what to think about it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's the thing they needed and didn't realize.
Yeah, exactly. They're just sitting there like, that was crazy.
Yeah, and totally.
So wild.
Yeah.
So just rewinding a little bit, I would love for you to tell your story, just kind of your background, where you're from. And I've listened to a little bit. You were on a podcast with your brother for a little while. Yeah. So I've listened to a little bit of that and kind of Instagram stalked you a little bit.
I love it.
In true fan fashion. But yeah, if you don't mind just telling your story, and then I'll just interject here and there and have a good chat.
For sure. I love starting out this way. So I'm going to take you back like actually about 15 years ago. And we'll fast forward quickly to today's day. But I met my husband and he and I, it's funny because we just in the last year both came to a place with him doing his own inner work, which started with We Are the They, and me with breath work. We came to this really awesome place where we are ready to actually be honest with where our story started. And that started in my husband's rehab, a drug rehabilitation center. My brother, my youngest brother, also was in there and we were visiting, and I met my husband that way. I met my husband while he was inpatient at a rehab center for a horrible heroin and cocaine addiction that he had gone, 4 or 5 years into getting himself really deep in. And there was so much shame around that for so long with he and I. When people would say, how did you meet? We would always say, through my brother. Yeah. And that was just enough. And that was okay at the time. But we've come to a place where Tyler, my husband, gets to own his story too. And that's part of his story. And it's a big part of his story, right? And we are so thankful for it now because it led us to each other. So, at that time I was in and maybe you can relate, maybe some of the listeners can relate, where I was a fixer. Like I loved to run around like fixing everything and orchestrating and everything. And even through my brother, who was in that rehabilitation center with my husband, I loved to fix him during his drug addiction days. Like,
do you mind if I ask you, where do you fall in the line of your siblings?
Second to youngest. So my brother, who is the addict, is the youngest.
Okay. I've noticed with a lot of people that I talk to, I'm the oldest of my siblings.
Okay. Yes.
And it tends to be like the older one becomes almost like another parent.
Yes.
But I can totally see that where just with a younger sibling in general, wherever you fall in the line of being like, this is the person that I have to help.
Totally.
And it becomes a personality trait.
I'm the only girl. So I have all my siblings I have 4 brothers.
Okay.
And so you kind of, fall into that. Like it was almost like this motherly role. And it's crazy because my younger brother, he's 3 years younger than me. He came home from the hospital and he was like my real life baby doll, right? Like, and so during his drug addiction days, I actually kind of thrived in an odd way because I was constantly able to save him and to try to fix things.
It gave you purpose.
And so I really just like learned that was like my purpose and value in life was to run around saving everyone while I let myself completely go. And so when I met my husband, I thought, oh my gosh, this is my little fixer-upper project, right? Yeah. This is wonderful. And so I just did the same thing kind of that I knew with my brother's drug addiction and how to do that. I kind of passed it and did, that with my husband, although, he was in recovery when I met him because, going through rehab. But our story didn't look pretty at all. It was very rocky. He was just barely learning how to land on his own 2 feet. I was learning how to land on my own 2 feet with having a child. So I had just had a baby. Okay. When I met my husband, my daughter was 3 years old. So 2.5, 3 years old. And, I thought I had it all figured out. Like I thought I knew how to raise this baby and I was very independent, like almost the ultra independence that's actually a protection mechanism that I later learned. But, it was the whole thing like, the snaps and like, I don't need no man. Like I got this on my own. Like watch me raise this baby. And so the first several years, my husband and I, we met. He ended up actually going back out, meaning he went back and was using drugs and violating parole and ended up getting locked up again. So it was another stint in jail that he did. And this is a part too that I don't know that I feel like today I'm able to own it. And I would go see him in jail. So like behind double paned glass as he's sitting there in a maroon jumpsuit, we're rekindling,
Yeah. How far into your relationship was that he was in jail?
So we had only been seeing each other probably 3 or 4 months, and a big, huge thing happened in our relationship where he didn't know how to deal with hard things except to go use drugs. And so that's what took him back out. But that was his last time. That was, he's been clean and sober now 15 years and it's a beautiful thing. But the first 10 years of our marriage, so I'll fast forward that quickly, was just rocky. Like it was just learning how, first of all, I didn't know how to allow somebody to just love me without me having to fix them. Like I thought that that's what came along with it. Like to be loved, you needed to be adding value and fixing and doing things. And I didn't know that you got to just be you and be loved.
Or allowed to be loved. Yeah. Yeah. Did you, I find it interesting sometimes when I'm looking back on things where I didn't necessarily have the mindset at the time of knowing like I'm doing A, B, and C because it equals E, F, G, But then in hindsight, I realized, oh shit, that's actually, that's what I was doing. So did you have the self-awareness to know like I'm fixing people because this is what I'm good at? Or was it just that's naturally where you flowed and then you realized later, oh, wait, this is how I think I'm getting love is by fixing people?
Exactly. That latter thing you said was there was no realization at the time, none at the time that, like this is what's adding my value and this is what's making me feel this. It was almost like an adrenaline thing, right? So my husband and I, we had a really sticky first 10 years. And I tell people this in a very like short way of saying it. We separated 5 different times. Like it was like we didn't know how to have disagreements without going, okay, we have to separate, So it was There were short little stints of separation. There was longer. And what really came to a head was, this will fast forward you to December of 2019. So my brother that I spoke of, he's, recovered. He just celebrated 12 years, which is amazing.
Yeah.
He and I opened a business in 2017 together, which was called Key Nutrition. And it was a fitness and nutrition coaching company. Little did we know it would blow up and become a very successful thing. So it started as this little like, hey, do you want to come work part-time and we'll open this business, to this business blowing up. So in 2019, I really, really lost sight of anything that was important to me. So at this point, I'm married about almost 10 years. I have 2 kids, my daughter, who is, now my husband's child as well, and our son. And I just remember, I look back at 2019 and it's a blur to me because I was my mind and my body were so disconnected. Like, I explain it to people as like, I would look over across the room and be like, that is a couch. Like, that's how I would like look at like my body and my mind. Like my mind was one place, my body, like, I was literally in survival mode of trying to keep this business running. My brother and I were traveling, doing a lot of masterminds, learning how to run a business. Cue up December of 2019. We go to, as a team, as the Key Nutrition, the coaches, myself, we went to a retreat in San Diego, and I did all the itinerary. I did all the finding of the Airbnb. So I put this all together, and I just vividly, and I just remember this so vividly, putting on the itinerary that I was giving to each person coming. 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday at this retreat was breath work. And I just, first of all, was like, what the hell is breath work? Like, where have we gone in this world that, we got to learn to breathe? Like, that's ridiculous. And I remember thinking right off the bat, like, oh, I bet I can get out of having to do it. And my first thought was, I wonder why I thought I want to get out of this. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get out of it. And I remember even approaching, Brad, my brother, and I said, hey, I'm not super into like that. Yeah. And I actually don't have shoes for that night's dinner. Like, I think I'm going to is it cool if I just head out? I'll get my own, Uber, and I'm just going to go shopping. And he's like, what do you mean you're not into that? And I said, breath work. He goes, do you know what breath work is? And I said, no, but like, I'm just not interested. Yeah. And he said, but you don't know what it is. And it's so fascinating to look back how much resistance I had to the one thing that I needed the actual most in my life. Mm-hmm. And I wonder how often that happens, not just with breath work, but anything with people in life, where the strongest resistance is. Why?
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like they have resistance against something that feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And is so foreign.
Right.
Because what if, and I'm sure this isn't the thought process, but it's realistic of like, what if this thing challenges me so much that it makes me have to change?
Oh, there you go. There you go. Because it's so uncomfortable, right? To have to change. And some of us just want to stay ignorance is bliss enough to not realize, right? And so I was like, okay, reluctantly, I'll stay. Like, I'm not happy about it. I will stay. And I just remember opening the door to the Airbnb to let this woman in. Brown, stunning eyes, brown hair, just adorable, bubbly personality. And she's standing there just holding these yoga mats. And I'm like, this is where the shit gets weird. Like, this is what I was trying to avoid. Right.
Yeah.
And she comes in and it was 3 hours of just the exact 3 hours that I needed in my life, right? She started to speak in a language that I was understanding, such as, are you disconnected? Is your mind and your body? My first reaction to that is, your mind and body disconnected? And I'm like, no. Then she started to really talk about it and how our minds are so overactive, right? It's constantly looking for the next thing that could harm us, the next thing that might go wrong, the next, right? The mind is a wonderful thing, but it can also overtake everything. And what I realized was when she started to speak in terms of, is your mind connected to your heart? And I was like, oh no. Like, because I learned long ago from heartbreak, whatever you want to, whatever avenue you want to go down, to disconnect my mind and my heart. Because when the pain got too much, you disassociate from that, right? And, and then she started to talk in terms of, I have struggled with, anxiety since I was 13 years old. And she started to talk in terms of that. Like, who wants to just sit in their anxiety?
Yeah.
Right? You want to try to run from it. You want to try to escape. You want to try to disconnect from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I, at that point, at 37 years old, I felt like I was a pro at disconnecting from the anxiety. And I seriously thought, lady, you're crazy, because I have spent so many years perfecting the disconnection.
Yeah.
To not feel.
Yeah.
Right?
To be in this survival mode.
Yes. And like, I was getting stuff done at that point in my life.
Yeah.
But I wasn't connected to anything. And I sat there and I remember thinking, my marriage is at the worst place possible in this moment. As I'm sitting here listening about this breathwork thing, I am the most disconnected I'd ever been from my children. Yes, my own biological children. I was the most disconnected. If you would ask me their favorite color, their favorite food, I didn't know it. I was so disconnected from anything. What's really fascinating about this is 75 hard.
Yes, I've done 75 hard.
Okay.
Yep.
I had just gotten done with 75 hard. And so many people were, it's amazing. And it is one of my biggest accomplishments today. Yeah. But when I think back to it, do 75 hard being completely disconnected from everything around you. And it's easy.
Yeah.
Because
there's no distractions. There's nothing.
No, I was so disconnected that I'm like, no, like, yeah, I did it the first time. Why is that such an achievement?
Yeah.
I was even disconnected from the pain in my body.
Wow.
It was just my ankles. I have a picture of it actually somewhere that my ankles are raw. They're bleeding. They're from the 45-minute outside walks. And I remember my husband going, I think you need to like do something about like your heels, your ankles. And I was like, I'm fine. Like my motto in life at that point was, I am always fine. I'm always fine. And I wore it like a badge of honor.
Which is like, I can imagine being that disconnected, but also being that successful and productive.
Yeah.
It's hard to look at that and be like, I need to stop doing this.
Yes.
This is what's helping me be successful.
Right.
And how many people in the world are doing that and just like, there's nothing wrong with this situation. I'm successful. What do you mean? Like, this is serving me.
Exactly.
That'd be weird.
It was literally perpetuating my career, my aesthetics, because 75 hard will get you in shape real fast.
Yep.
Right. So I always say to people, someone out there looking at me, they thought I had it all. I have 2 beautiful kids. I have a bearded, tattooed husband. I have this career. I have this aesthetic body doing 75 hard. She's got it all. And I look at pictures, Amber, and I was a shell of a human. Like I look at my completion picture on day 75 and it makes me sad for her because I was empty. And that was a month before I went to this retreat and found breathwork found me, really. Like it came to the door, right? And I remember sitting over, like, as we chatted and we did the whole pre-breathwork stuff where I listened to her, kind of like you talked about me talking, and you're starting to resonate with this person and you're starting to trust them, right? You didn't know me from anything when I walked in that room.
No.
You start to trust them, right? Because they're okay, you're speaking my language. So I was, reluctantly, but I did go over and I got on the mat and I, laid down and however long that breath work was. And I remember coming out, and just like you spoke of at the beginning of this podcast, I remember thinking, what the hell was that? But when can we do it? When can we do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I have a little entry that's in a journal that she gave that day. And it says, this was the most out of body yet in body experience I have ever been with.
Ooh.
And it's the most connected to myself that I've ever been without being scared and trying to run from it.
Oh,
and
I love that.
I love to reflect back on that because I feel like so much of my life, I was trying to run from myself. I was trying to run from what I was feeling, or I was trying to run from, let's even say like, and women totally connect with this.
Yeah.
They run from, it's like, we're told to be thin and be skinny and diet and all these things, right? So you learn, and you're hungry, we'll ignore the hunger cues. So you learn to disconnect in even that way.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and even going back to what you said before of like, if our heart is open, we're hurt that much more often. And so we're taught, nope, don't show those emotions. Don't fall too quickly. Don't, like, personally, I feel like I experienced this quite a lot where I would fall really hard, really fast for people. And every single time it was just heartbreak. And finally it just got to a point where it was easier to disassociate and not feel.
Yes.
And even to this day, I catch myself sometimes where I'm like, wait a minute, it's okay for me to feel these emotions.
1000%. Yes. It is so much easier. And that is a lot of times the story I hear of, when people say, I'm leery to do breath work because I have these feelings really, really locked up in a Pandora box, and that feels really safe for me. But what I tell them is I thought the exact same thing. And inside of us, when we don't express, like, the body is meant to express, right? Like you think about, how old are your kids?
5 and 2.
Okay. So you're still in the tantrum phase.
Yes.
And so when they are frustrated about something, they flop on the ground. Yes, I know it's extreme for a child, but they're expressing. Their body is frustrated, right? It's something inside of them, frustration. If it could do something, that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, as we grow and we get older, we can't flop on the ground and start throwing a tantrum.
Sometimes it would be nice
but breath work kind of is that.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's like what it is being provided, is the body to express those emotions and those feelings. And just the different stories over the course of, the last 4 or 5 years since I experienced breath work is, men who they're taught, bite your upper lip, don't cry, boys don't cry, but whatever it is, all the different sayings, right? Buck up. You learn really young to suppress those emotions. Now, females, same thing, it's same, different. It's the same where it's like, we're too emotional. Do you have PMS? What's wrong? Oh my gosh, she's psycho. Yeah. Because we feel big emotions. And that's the thing is it's uncomfortable for other people. So we suppress it, right?
Well, not only that, but it's in a society that's teaching to suppress, nobody's teaching us how to express. And so it's just this vicious cycle of, it makes other people feel uncomfortable because they were never taught how to express it themselves. Yeah. And so we suppress it even more.
Absolutely. Yeah. And suppression, literally, the whole saying of suppression leads to depression, it's true. And the suppression of our emotions causes this uneasiness and this, dis-ease in the body, which leads to, that's why I tell people, like, you think you've got it locked up in this Pandora box and it's doing you well, but give it 30 years of you suppressing this and it's not going to end up well for you. Right. And it comes out in the weirdest ways of different, diseases that will show up, insomnia, horrible depression, anxiety, things like that.
Yeah.
And so for me, I always tell people, don't do breath work for the first time and expect the biggest aha moment. It might not happen for you the very first time you experience it. For me, it was just a different story. And I think it was just the timing that my higher power just knew that I needed in that moment, because I literally sat in San Diego and I said, I'm asking my husband for a divorce when I get home. I got home and I did do just that. I asked him for a divorce. So in hindsight, at the time, what I was feeling was, I said to him, and I remember this conversation so vividly, I said, I don't know how to let you love me. The way you want to love me, somebody deserves that. And I don't know how to let you love me. Like I feel like, and I told him, I said, I was so closed off and I went to San Diego and I did this breathwork thing and my heart is so open and it's so tender, but I just don't know if I deserve your love. Oh, wow. And he sat there just, I want to be with you. You deserve my love. And we ended up separating at the beginning of 2020, and he had it at that point with the back and forth. And he said, I will get the papers. I will file for divorce. And I remember the visceral feeling in my body of literally wanting to throw up, thinking he's done. Like he's literally done. Like I can't keep,
I've used all my lives.
I've literally, like he's done. And here in Utah, we all know at the beginning of 2020 was weird, and then COVID hit, and then we had a big earthquake, which was big for Utah, right? Like all the things. And I just remember going, for me, God is I was he's my higher power. I just was like, God, what is this telling me? Like everything is shaken up. Like everything that I've ever known is shaken to the core.
It was chaos.
Chaos.
It's you talking about this. I had actually just had my son Beckett the end of November in 2019. And so I was done with my maternity leave the end of February. And I remember I decided to become a stay-at-home mom. I called my boss. I was like, hey, here's my 2 weeks notice. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. I'm not coming back. And the way that the company worked, just brief story. The way the company worked is if you quit your job, your benefits last to the end of the month. And he's like, you're only going to have them for like a week. Why don't you come back the next Monday is the first day of March. Come work for 1 day and then that can be your last day. And then your benefits will last till the end of March.
Right.
And that'll give you time to figure out what you're doing for healthcare and all of that. And I'm like, okay, sweet. So here I am, new baby, deciding to be a stay-at-home mom, this new venture in life. It's spring. That winter was super crazy. And I was just so stoked to just like get out of my house and socialize with my friends and show them my cute new baby. And then 2 weeks later, everything shuts down.
Yes.
And then all the earthquake was just terrifying. You're talking when you were saying, what does this all mean for me? I remember literally being like, is this the end of the world?
Yes.
Is this the thing that religions teach us about?
Yes. Right.
I was so scared. And I'm like, I just had this baby. And when you're a new mom, you're like in super protective mode.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody knew what was going on with COVID or how it was transferred. And we were wiping down our groceries and stuff, you know? And I'm just like, it was just chaos and panic. So I can understand the time period that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Of like, what the hell is going on? What do I do?
Exactly. What's happening? And yes, exactly. And for me, on top of it all, going, holy, I'm headed for a divorce. Like, this is wild. Like, and from the time I got home from San Diego and found breathwork, I was so intrigued by it. And the woman who came to that Airbnb and led me in my first breathwork experience ended up being my breathwork mentor, right? Ended up being who I got certified through.
That's awesome.
Because I got so ultra fascinated with it, because here's what happened, Amber, and this people might be able to resonate with this. The feeling I had when I did breathwork that very first time, I remember looking, her name is Samantha Skelly, who became my mentor. I remember looking at her after. And as I helped her, wind up those little mats that we laid on and send her on her way, I remember hugging her on the front steps of that Airbnb, and I was sobbing. And I said, I'm so scared for you to leave because I'm scared I'll never feel that way again. I'm scared that I will never feel what I felt inside of there ever again. And she looked at me dead square in the eyes with those brown eyes, and she said, I did nothing. That was all you.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, woman, you don't know me. Like, that wasn't me, because I've never felt that before. And I'm 37. Like, something inside of me is broken. And so I became ultra fascinated with the breath and connecting to the breath. And yes, as I do agree that I feel breath work is different when you are led by someone who is holding the space for you versus doing it on your own. But I started to notice that I'm like, no, the breath is what's connecting me back to my heart, right? Because I had all these stories around like meditation and things like that, where like I can't shut my mind down and I can't blah, blah, all the stories. And it's like the breath gave me this tangible thing for someone who runs a little anxious, to slow your breath down and connect to the pace of your breath, the beat of your heart. It slowly started to like, I would have these moments where I was like by myself in a room. Me and my husband are headed for divorce. My kids are at school. And I would go, oh my gosh, wait, I think I accessed that feeling in San Diego just a little bit. Yeah. And then I would do it again. And then I would become more, connected. And I just remember when I went to my husband and I said, I want to try one more time, and I'm willing to go all in and open my heart completely to let you love me the way you want to. And I just need you to be patient with me while I learn to allow that, because understand that I've never allowed this ever for someone to just love me so raw and pure, right? And to just be okay if it hurt and if I was scared. And he said, I'm willing to do that. Right. So we went all in. And just ever since then, I am so in love with that man. Like we were married for 10 years and that was cool. And we talk about that, but like we really say we've been married now for 4.5.
Yeah.
And it's just been the coolest thing. Like, has there been moments of raw, like hurt? Absolutely. But the feeling of allowing someone to fully love you with your heart open and your walls let down, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that because so my husband and I, we've been together for 11 and a half years. We've only been married for 3 years. We just celebrated our 3-year anniversary in August. And we kind of joke that before our son, we were just roommates who liked each other, you know?
Okay.
And we were just existing in a relationship. And we didn't see it at the time that we were really just coexisting. Just kind of like passing each other and both doing our own separate thing.
There you go. Yeah.
And it wasn't until we started both on our own growth and healing journeys ourselves that we realized like, oh shit, this is what our relationship could be. And we've just been coasting this whole time. We've just been like existing together.
Yes.
And so we joke that our relationship didn't start until we were about engaged, basically.
Yes.
Because that's when we started taking it seriously of truly loving each other and having that open communication where things that would have taken us sitting down and having a 2-hour emotional conversation and feeling like we got nowhere are now literally just like, I can say something to him and he gets it. And that's our conversation. Like we just truly see and understand each other.
Yep.
So yeah, I love that for you guys.
I love that for you and your husband because that is exactly like it's almost like you start doing the inner work separately, right?
That's exactly,
that was the big key for Tyler and I was people will ask, well, did you do marriage counseling? We didn't. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I think it's a great tool out there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for everyone because we had to start doing our own individual work. And that's when we started to speak the same language, if you will, where instead of there being a disagreement and we had to separate because we had no clue how else to do it except drop down, drag out fights. Yeah. We now could like sit down and have hard conversations. Like I know it's such a cliche thing to say, but those hard conversations that so many people avoid, they're so much easier than the outcome that happens when you don't just have that conversation.
Yep.
And that's just, we just started to go all in on that. And you know, I became more and more fascinated through 2020 because of everything shutting down, us deciding to go all in. Suddenly I'm not just a mom. Now I'm a school teacher, right? It was just a whole thing. But I just got super fascinated even deeper with breath work and why it works, like what it's doing. And like, I have to know, like, I'm always someone that says, make it make sense. Like I need to know why, when it comes to like dieting or eating certain foods, why, what's it doing for me? Yep. Because then I'll do it. And Samantha Skelly, again, back to this mentor who I ended up getting certified with, she started to do Instagram lives every single day, guiding breath while, you know, there was the huge shutdown. Yeah. And I remember I would do it and I was starting to feel deeper. And what I tell people is finally by April of 2021, I became fascinated enough that I paid $6,000 to join a 6-month certification course to become a breathwork facilitator. What does that mean? Yeah, exactly. Right. But I knew I was intrigued with it and that it was helping me understand how to stay open, right? How to keep my heart open. Because there's one thing to have an experience that makes you feel like, oh my gosh, that feels so good and my heart feels open. But guess what? It'll close back up over time if you don't keep working on it. Yep. Right? It's not like a one and done. It's not like you can eat a salad and become thin for the rest of your life or do one workout, right? Yeah. It's the same thing. So people will go to the gym over and over and over. They will eat the right foods over and over and over because aesthetically they want to stay well. But when it comes to your emotional health, people don't do that, right? They think, well, I did a year of therapy. Yeah. Great. But what have you done after that? Right? So I got to the point, I enroll myself in this certification. And as I'm becoming certified, the first 3 months are all you being a complete student and learner of what it feels like to sit in the shit. Like literally sit in your emotions. And I'm like, hold up. Like, I can't run from this. I can't take something. I can't drink. Whatever it is, right? That helps you numb. I can't do that. Like, you want me to sit in this. This is so bizarre. And it was this feeling of building the resilience up of like sitting in something that felt so uncomfortable. A, realizing it didn't kill me. Like it didn't, like even when it felt like it would. And B, just the pride that comes on the other side of, I always tell people it's like a circle. And if you just let it run its course, it's a complete circle. What happens is people get about 3/4 of the way through and they bow out.
Yeah.
They go, I don't want to, I don't want to sit with this.
I can't do this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it doesn't complete the circle where people say, let emotions move through you. Right?
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yep. Well, it's like, what it makes me think of is this illustration that I came up with a while back of if you're in a room with a bunch of your favorite possessions and some of them are fragile, little knickknacks and such, and there's a little girl or a little boy just tapping at the window, and you keep trying to ignore them. You don't want to let them in because if you let them in, they're going to pick things up and move things and possibly break things. And I don't know if I could handle that being broken. It means so much to me. I've put so much time and effort into this. And what it is they're just going to get louder and louder and louder. Whereas if you let them in, yeah, some things might be moved, some things might be broken. But eventually, the more that you're letting that little girl or that little boy in to explore, it becomes easier each time.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And it becomes less chaos and less you trying to pick things up and move things and guard things. It's just they come in and they sit down and you have the conversation that needs to be had and then they leave. They don't even have to move the things and break the things.
Yes.
And so like with emotions, it's you talking about this. This is something actually that I've been working on a lot this year of allowing myself to truly feel the emotion, not resisting it. Especially I think as moms and as women, and maybe especially as a businesswoman too, you might be able to relate to this of when you have a rush of emotions, this is not the right time. I can't do this right now. Right. I don't have time to cry or to have people to ask me why my eyes are all red and blah, 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 blah. I have to keep it together or I don't want these people to see me crying. And so you push it down. And for me, a lot of the times it was, I'll deal with this emotion later. I'll think about this later. And then later would come and either I would forget about it or I would push it down again. Nope, now is not the time. I'll push it down later. When really I realized, if I let myself just feel it, it's not going to last as long as I think it's going to. And I get to process through all of these emotions of why I'm feeling this way. And I don't even need to be logical and justify why I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling this way. Yes. And let it exist and let it have its moment. And not to say like, oh, sit in your pity party, make sure that you're feeling bad for yourself, but just letting yourself, just acknowledging the emotion exists in you.
Yeah.
Takes away so much of its gusto to take over you. It just exists and then it's done.
I love that you brought that up because so often, and I feel like it's moms and women who say, I don't have the time to feel, I don't have time to feel it. Or let's say like, grief. I don't have time. I've got to do this and plan this, if someone, let's say the grief is from someone actually passing away, they just get in like doer mode. A lot of women are doer and exactly. I'll feel it later. I'll feel it later. Well, there's a beautiful woman out there. Her name's Keisha Sawyer. She always says later's a liar. And it is like later is a liar. And you're exactly right that when you actually let yourself sit in an emotion, it's never A, as bad as you think, and B, it never lasts as long as you think it's going to, right?
Yep. Another
thing is how often when you're in the presence of somebody and something makes the other person emotional and that person says, I'm so sorry, I'm going to start crying. They like warn you. They almost like warn you, like, I'm getting emotional. I'm sorry. And how often the person, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Like we apologize for feeling emotions.
Yeah.
And it's so fascinating to me how many people will do that when they start to cry in my presence and go, I'm so sorry. I'm like, for what? Yeah. For feeling in my, like, that is such an honor to me that you are okay to express and to, because that's vulnerability at its finest. That word is such a buzzword right now, but that's what it is. It's feeling something and being able to express it, right? So here's the thing. I'm someone who I'm very expressive in the way that I talk with my hands. Like I always tell people, if my hands were tied behind my back, I don't know if my mouth would move.
Yeah.
I express that way, right? With my hands. And when we get excited, like we, girls a lot of times will squeal, we squeal or we screech and we get excited and we jump or whatever. But then when it comes to the other side of feeling, when it comes to either sadness or anger for women is something they feel like they shouldn't feel.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to watch because I'm like, why? Why should we? Is it always daytime? No, nighttime comes. So why should we always feel happy? And why should we always feel elated?
Yeah.
And feel okay to show those feelings? But when we want to be mad or cry or feel those feelings, it feels like I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry I'm putting this on you.
Have you read Glennon Doyle's book?
No,
Untamed?
I need to.
Oh my gosh. It's so good. That was probably one of the first, it's not really a self-help book, but like it's nonfiction and I read a lot of fiction. And so it was probably one of the first like motivational books that I'd ever read. And she talks about how she used to be an alcoholic and she found out that she was pregnant and that was a turning point for her. She had tried a couple other times to get sober, but for her, the moment that she found out she was pregnant was like, okay, I have to do this. I don't have a choice now. And her huge catch or moment of fear was she was in a meeting and an AA meeting and she said something about like, but it was numbing her emotions, she realized. And she's like, I'm afraid to feel all of these emotions, these ups and these downs. And someone told her that's the point of life. And for some reason it had like never really clicked. Like that is the point. It's not about always being happy.
Right.
That's not the point of life. The point of life is to feel everything. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard the cliche of like, you can't appreciate the sweet if you don't have the sour.
Yeah.
It's true. And there's so much beauty in the sour.
Yeah.
And I think once you get to a point where it's not like, oh, well, I have to go through this so I can appreciate the good times even more. It's more like, okay, this moment, this terrible, awful moment is beautiful too. And sincerely feeling that way and looking at all the beauty in that moment.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's where the teachings are. Like that's right. And we get to learn and we get to grow a little bit. And, it's so fascinating with breath work, like, because breath work will bring to the surface, like maybe emotions that you haven't wanted to feel, right? But breath work also is one of the most beautiful ways to just empower yourself and to find your higher self in there. There's a firefighter friend of mine and he's become a really dear friend just through breath work. Like that's how I met him was I invited him into the room, like to come do breath work. And he was very leery. And now he is one who he comes to my breath work and we laugh so hard because he always ends up with his shirt off somehow. And it's because he gets so into the breath and so sweaty and hot and all the things. But the coolest thing about him is he's this big, burly fireman dude, mustache. And he voice audioed me this morning. I got it. And he said, I dressed up the other day, Michelle, and I looked in the mirror and it was my higher self looking back at me.
Oh, I love
and I'm
that.
like, that is so cool that he can access that higher self. So breath work isn't about writhing on the ground and crying and screaming. It can be. And that's a beautiful thing to me. It also can be where you reconnect to your truest version of who's in there. Because I think life gets so lifey that we lose that version of us, right? Authenticity, whatever you want to call it, the authentic self, the higher self, that we reconnect to that. And we reconnect to the power that's always been in us. We just have either given our power away or we've forgotten. And guess what? The punchline is you'll forget again. Like that's the human in us, right? And it's the highs and the lows. And I remember saying to my therapist once, like, I don't know. I just feel like it's like yesterday I felt super happy and now today I fell down in the dumps. And she goes, welcome to life, Michelle. That's life.
That's how it goes.
And if we're managing that window of tolerance where you're not going above and beyond it, that's just life.
Yep.
The ups and the downs.
Yeah. Oh man, I had a point that that made me think of what you were saying. in breath work, in the beginning, when I first started doing breath work, I was crying every time. It was just like this huge emotional thing for me. And I think it's because honestly, when I first started breath work, actually the first time I did breath work was, Ben and I had decided we were going to have our second child, and I was about to go on a girls trip, like my last little hurrah before we started trying. And that was the beginning of my breathwork journey. And so all of it was after that, being pregnant with my daughter and then postpartum. And so when I did breathwork with you, I was 3 months postpartum.
Yes.
And there's something about having a kid in general that really makes you look at how you were parented. There's something about being a mom and having a daughter. Hugest shift. And when I did breath work with you, I was actually at the very beginning of processing so much stuff around my mom and my mother wound that I didn't even know I had. And now that I had discovered it, it was just this gaping wound.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning of me doing breath work was very, very emotional. Eventually it's gotten to a point where, and not to say, oh, my work is done, I'm healed. There will always be work to do. But I've had breathwork sessions where I cry. I've had breathwork sessions where I am laughing hysterically.
Yes.
I've had breathwork sessions where I can't hold still because I can just feel the energy inside of me. But I love that you said that it is a coming back. It's like coming back home to yourself.
Yes.
And how empowering that is of taking back your power. I love that you use that phrase because this year, or really the past 2 years, has been me finding all of the ways that I can take my power back.
Yes.
And it's so interesting once you sit down and you look at it and we don't realize how many ways we're giving that power away.
Oh, yeah.
Willingly, not even being forced, but we realize we're just giving it away. And to find little ways, even just in simple phrases, the way that you say things that you can take that power back and not to say like, I'm taking my power back. Nobody else deserves it. This is all mine. But it's very much of realizing how powerful I really am.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. And that phrase you said, that coming home to yourself, that is so often how I will conclude breathwork is you're home. I remind them you're home, because what happens is, just like myself, that first breathwork experience where I said, please don't leave. I'm afraid I'll never feel this way again. That was home for me. And I've now found that over and over and over again to where I know what home feels like. We've just forgotten. We've literally forgotten, right? And we also, I think one thing that's huge in this world right now is we've forgotten that we can choose us. We can choose ourselves.
Yes.
Over and over and over again, right? And I just think breathwork is, I think it's a beautiful thing that it's found its way over into this Western way, because Eastern way, that's all they know. They only know the connection to the breath, the connection to chi, the connection to energy, the connection to source.
Yeah.
And I love that it's I feel like becoming more of a common thing when you ask someone if they know what breathwork is.
Yeah.
And I just know that the moment that breathwork found me, that literally was my turning point. That was my turning point. It saved my marriage. My husband and I 100% know that. And, if anyone out there is like struggling in their marriage, people have asked me before, like, what did it? And I'm like, I wish I could give you one like easy thing that you could do.
Yeah.
But
like, come home and always do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it takes having, first of all, a spouse, and like, shout out to the men out there doing the work, and like, a plug for We Are the They. And even my husband, he works for Hero Home, and they do a hero's journey. And it's a cool thing when men are willing to look inward. Okay. Because that's just, it's not the cool thing. It's not the hip thing, right? It's like I said, my husband's a bearded, tatted, used to be blue collar. So like softening and going inward, it's like, what, bro? Like,
well, and I think a lot of older generations especially will tell you, oh, that's sissy lala. Like emotions, you're acknowledging emotions, and maybe they won't word it that way, but to see a man cry willingly because he finds something beautiful, would be considered a weakness.
Absolutely.
Whereas now to have, and just speaking from my own experience of conversations with my husband, he's a completely different person now. The fact that I can talk to him about like the most woo-woo thing and he's like, okay, cool.
Yes.
Like not judging me, teasing me about it, but like supporting me in all the ways that I need to be supported. And I'm trusting that he's taking care of his own emotions so that I don't have to be the one carrying his and mine.
Right.
It's like, it's the most, it sounds so feminine for them to be emotional and going inward and processing through all those, but it's the most masculine thing.
Oh, it's hands down, right? One of the most attractive things, I think, for a spouse on our end to witness them, doing that kind of work.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that it's becoming more normal.
Me too.
And that there's spaces, right? There's so many for women and men. There's these groups. For men, there's groups, that you're involved in. For women, there needs to be more of these spaces where people are encouraging other people. Hey, especially dudes. Hey, bro, it's okay. It's okay. Like, it's cool to cry. Like, right?
Yep.
So,
like, if you're wanting to take care of your family in every sense of the way, this is the best way that you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
1000%. Yeah. You can make all the money in the world, but if you are an empty shell of a human, it's not worth anything,
Well, and the way that it affects your relationships, like watching my husband with our kids, even just like in the beginning when we first had our son and we were in the hospital and I'm like, are you excited? Are you nervous? How are you feeling? And he's like, yeah, I mean, you could tell he was like kind of on autopilot.
Yeah.
Of like, I have a family to take care of. And then with my daughter, both of us were just in such a different place.
Yes.
That it was like, oh, wow, look at this beautiful thing that we've created.
Yes.
And it's just so cool to watch him with our kids, the way that he relates to them and connects with them.
Yes. And that
he's done that work.
That's going to shape and form them. It's wild. It's wild what it does for us as humans to feel deeply, to be human, and to find just, these depths to life and the beauty in the simple, really simple things. And that's what I know breath work has done for me is it's made me very fascinated and intrigued with human behavior, with the way that humans are. And just this beautiful depth is life. And like, we get to live it. I mean, just like the most cliche things that I'm like, I'll never be that person. Now I am. Like, I'm the crystal licking, sage lighting, like love and light. I'm so grateful I woke up and took my first breath, but it's true.
Yeah.
It's just, it's been really a beautiful ride since. Yeah.
I love that.
Finding breath work.
A couple questions that I do have. One, when you, just rewinding way back a little bit, but I think this might be helpful for people. When you, when your husband was going through his addiction and recovery and back to jail and all of that, and at this point you had 2 kids by then?
I had just my daughter.
Just your daughter?
Yeah.
What was something that, how do I phrase this? What were some things that helped you through that in that moment? Because at that point you didn't have breath work.
I wish it was better coping mechanisms, but like in that moment, it was like the moments of like connecting like with my daughter, like having, I am always so grateful for it because I always say like phrases like she saved me and she really kind of did, because in those moments of like just having the stillness, the moments of just childlike energy right around me. I hate to say it, but back then, like coping for me looked like drinking because that disconnection of like not feeling felt better. But one thing that I've always had really solid is I was raised in an LDS faith, but left around 18. But the one thing that I really have always been connected to is God and prayer. And what's really funny is, and people might understand this, is prayer is a very specific way in the LDS culture. But as I started to find my own way of like talking to the God of my understanding, like that really brought me comfort. And what's crazy is that's a form of meditation, like is connecting,
You
right?
know, it's crazy that you say this. I literally just had this conversation with someone on the other day.
Oh,
about
I love it.
How prayer is a form of meditation. So I grew up Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
And they call it meditating, but they're very clear on it's not the type of meditation where you're clearing your mind and because then you're leaving your mind open to spirits. So, but it's interesting that they even call it meditation because through all of the healing that I've done over the past couple years, the person I was talking to the other day, he was talking about praying and his definition of prayer has changed.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And he also grew up LDS. And him saying that, he said, it looks very, very different, but I'm still sending out the same energy.
Yes.
The same questions, the same requests or hopes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I would usually tell people that I don't pray anymore. I haven't prayed for probably 20 years. But then I realized, wait a minute, maybe I have been praying this whole time.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Yes. It's the standard definition people think of when you say prayer, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's just those moments of connecting with, I don't care what your higher power is. Like, I don't care if it's nature, if it's stars, if it's whatever.
Yeah.
It's connecting with something higher than yourself, right? And connecting that self energy to something greater than you.
I love that.
So
I love that so much. And then one question that I really love to ask everybody that comes on here is, with everything that you've been through, if you're talking to the younger version of yourself or someone who's going through something similar, what's something that's helped you that you would like to share that could help somebody else? Whether that is the struggles with your marriage, the reconnecting to yourself, the spouse with addiction, figuring out where you were a fixer and how to start fixing yourself before fixing others, any of those aspects. What's something that has really helped you that you'd like to share?
yeah, I love that question. And the first thing that came to my heart is, you're not broken. I really thought I was broken. Like, I thought I had ruined my intuition in my 20s by not listening ever. We're just not. Like, you're never to a point where it's too late, like ever. And also, it's the trying things that your first just inkling is you have resistance to it. Why? And just what if? Like, there's Mel Robbins. I don't know how versed you are with her.
Yeah.
She has this what if. But like, what if it works out better than you thought? What if it's the thing that plugs you back into, what you've been asking for? And so I think it's just going back to that you're not broken. You're not worthless. Like, I don't care what you've done in your past. Like, I don't care how much you didn't listen to your intuition. I don't care what your past looks like. You're a person with a beating heart, and that heart deserves to be open and to be filled with love. One of my biggest things is my dad is still in the LDS faith, and he goes out to the prison and he teaches the male inmates. And my dad has so much love for these men, and he doesn't want to know what their past is, because he says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they've done. And I think about that, and it's exactly like, we all have these beating hearts inside of our chest that we deserve to be loved, to receive love. And we're just not broken. Like, no part of us is broken. We might be a little bit bent, but that's okay.
Yeah. Who isn't?
Yeah, exactly. We're all walking around bent.
Yeah.
But they're just not broken. And it's not too late.
It never is. I love that you said that too, because something that I've realized through this podcast is it's crazy how many people, like you were saying earlier, from the outside looking in, someone would have thought that you had it all. Yeah. And like, how many times have you looked at somebody and been like, oh, their life is so perfect. I wish that I could, especially when you're in your shit and you're like, that looks really nice. I want to be there.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people I've talked to and how many crazy stories I've heard. And you're just like, whoa, okay, so you're here because you went through all of that.
Yes.
And so if you feel like you're broken, and I love that you said you might be a little bit bent, dude, that's where all the big stuff comes from. It's like, if you can look at those things, see the beauty in it, and use that as your motivation to push you into what you truly want.
Yeah.
that's where it's at.
Oh, it's totally where it's at. I couldn't agree more. So thanks for having me on.
Of course.
This
Thank
has
you
been
so much.
Fun.
I've loved this.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we finally made it.
I know.
Happen.
We did. We did.
Yay.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and go leave a review on Apple Podcast. It helps me know what you want to hear and who I should have as a guest next. Thanks again, and until next time, keep living the life of a lotus.